My name is Nicholas Phillips, and this is the formulation of my policy education reform through school choice for Texas. All right, so in the formulation, tentative, we're going to identify the policy problem that the school voucher, school choice is attempting to tackle, the agenda setting, how is it going to be laid out, and then the resolution and alternatives. So for the policy problem, what is it attempting to tackle is the mediocre and failing public schools. Texas is very behind, as I show here. 73.5% of all Texas 8th graders are not proficient in reading, while 60% are not proficient in math. And then the large portions of Texans are economically disadvantaged, low-income households around the state of Texas, especially in the rural community areas. So this school choice policy is attempting to reconcile that through the school choice. The COVID-19 pandemic also fueled this push for school choice. Historically, school choice has been a very controversial issue, with rural Republican lawmakers also siding with Democrats, saying that it's not really going to help them or their economically disadvantaged households. But despite this, and during COVID, the school public administrators and teachers seem to fall short on their duties to protect students from issues that the parents felt were not needed, and their policies. So in this wave coming off of COVID, Governor Greg Abbott and other Republican lawmakers have been able to push this school choice policy, as it is their alternative to helping lower income households, and also trying to increase the number of students who are proficient in reading and math. The numbers I give you there are all of the public school education system. And so with students being able to choose charter schools or private schools, that they'll see these numbers increase. So for the agenda, the objectives is give parents choices. Texas has always prided itself on being Republican, being citizens first, very individualistic culture. And so in doing this, they're trying to give the decision of where to send their kids to school and that power back to the parents. They think that doing this will allow students to move from the public school system to the private school or charter school system. Also doing this, the Republican lawmakers and Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor believe that this will pressure public schools to improve. And by that, all across the board, whether that be the STAR test scores average, the proficiency that you see there in math and reading that is taken on that test, as well as sciences. Also, pressure public schools to not only bump up those test scores, but to improve the education curriculum. So the measures that will be taken, this bill and public policy will create the ESA, or Education Savings Account. This is the accounts that a student can register for, and it will be administered and audited by the Comptroller's office. All of this money will run into the Comptroller's office, and they will be responsible for creating these education savings accounts for each student that is successfully admitted to this program. So the funding in Texas currently, right now, it has been deduced that the cost per student is $6,100 on a rough estimate for a student attending public school. And so the change here is that under this program, each student that is accepted will get $10,000. Now, this is more in line with the other states in the nation and what they deduce a student is worth. However, the problem that comes from this funding of the policy that will creep up is, while they have upped for this program and this policy to $10,000 per student, all other public schools are still only getting $6,100 per their student. And in a lot of public school districts, they get their funding on a per student basis, on how many students attend their school. So this will affect the education system. It will pull money out of public schools under that current policy for some of those schools. And because of this, property taxes will probably also increase, as the Republican lawmakers have stated that they believe that it will Republican lawmakers do not believe, they say that they will not slash the public school education budget or the teachers' budget. In fact, they will increase those along with this new program, which is slated to be up to $4.5 billion in 2030 if the program is still continued around and if it gets passed. So because of this, as seen in Wisconsin and Minnesota, with these programs, property taxes will also likely increase to be able to cover the budget that will be needed. So in alternatives and solutions, So in the alternatives and solutions, imposing the same regulatory standards on private school and charter schools as public schools. Under the current policy and the writing and language of said policy, there are no similar standards set to private schools or charter schools that public schools have to follow, such as the transparency of where the money is being used, the transparency of who can be accepted into different private schools, as the majority of them have religious dispensation to make their own decisions, and then as well as standardized testing. Now, all of these regulations and rules are not applicable to private schools, and changing these would help to more align the public and get their support, especially for the people that they are intending to help, which is the low-income households. Now, another alternative or tweak to this policy would be to decrease the income standard to allow the truly low-income households to be a part of this policy. So right now, under the current policy, it is only set to 500% of that, and everyone underneath is at 500% of the federal poverty limit. 500% in Texas would be roughly, I think, $136,000 a year per household. Now, that is middle class and not necessarily targeted to the lower income households. So if we lower this bar down to where other states have them as well, it will help the actual lower income households and not include some people who don't necessarily as much need to get this help.